Now, there's a lot of debate over what the greatest console generation of all time is. I'm not sure if the seventh generation is my personal favorite, but it's definitely the last time that I really enjoyed gaming. It was the last time that gaming was exciting, in my opinion. Uh, a lot of people will say that the sixth console generation is their favorite, the PS2 era, and in terms of variety of games, it's definitely the best console generation. Uh, yeah, I mean, it was really the last time you had stuff like 3D platformers, which you didn't have in the 360 PS3 era. But what I really liked about the PS3 360 era, the 7th gen, is the design philosophy of the games, where everything, well, not everything, but I mean, a lot of the games, they went for an epic grand scale. Uh, Stuff like, Halo 3 and God of War 3, they were continuations of stuff from the 6th gen, but they were given their epic conclusion in the 7th gen, um, which, in my opinion, it's almost like a quality over quantity thing with comparing the 7th gen to the 6th gen. Um, I mean, there were a lot of, there were drawbacks to the 7th gen. I mean, you had stuff like Call of Duty and, I mean, stuff like that. And, I mean, stuff like that really gave things like set pieces like a bad rap, because like that's something that is missing from games today. It's like these epic set pieces, because people associated set pieces with quick time events and like something that's like could barely be considered gameplay or something like that. But games like Halo 3, Uncharted 2, I mean, they had set pieces that were totally interactive. I mean, like this two Scarab battle, I mean, you can approach it any way you want. Or like Gears of War 2, where like you're invading the Hollow, and you're riding on the back of a Brumac, and you're taking out like just like huge swarms of enemies, like entire armies of locusts, just like totally like wiping them out and stuff like that. Like that was like that gave you like this huge sense of like you were part of this this like story where like some like really just like epic things were happening in it. And stuff like God of or Gears of War 4, it was just like, oh, it's like a more personal journey or something like that. And it's like they just like they moved away, like just every series they just like moved away from like it's like every series just like peaked in the 7th gen, like the most epic scale stuff happened in the 7th gen, like Gears of War 3, Mass Effect 3, Halo 3, God of War 3. It's like all these franchises, like the games that came about in the 8th gen, the scale was just like way smaller. It was like, oh no, we're going for, I don't know, something else. It's like, oh, but that, it like, it's not all set pieces. It's going to be more gameplay because it's open world, or there's like skill trees and stuff. But it's like, to me, it was like, that's just like more padding. And like, oh, it's like a story where everything is all on the line is like too cliche at this point. It's been done too many times. So we're going to have, a story that's like a more, like, I don't know, personal story or something about a character or whatever. And it's like, it just, I don't know, it just doesn't feel as exciting in comparison. And that's only, when games are good nowadays. But like, a lot of the times there's a myriad of problems. They release broken and buggy and everything else like that. But I mean, it's just the design philosophy of making everything like with Halo 3. If you watch like the making of videos, they talk about how they wanted to make it like the Return of the King of gaming. So it's like that was the intention was to make the games really epic. And yeah, people said, oh, that's just skyboxes, that's just smoke and mirrors. But no, in many cases they pulled it off. And it was very interactive, like Gears of War 2, like Escaping the Hollow, or the Killzone games. Killzone 2 and 3, they were like these really like intense, like they were sold as like being these like really intense, gritty shooters that like you felt like you were part of this like invasion of Helghan and stuff like that. But then you had the PS4 era, the beginning of that, and you had Killzone Shadowfall, which was a terrible game, but I mean, the design philosophy, they were like, oh no, it's like, we don't want it to just feel like a COD clone or something like that. It's like, or just like another FPS. Like, it's going to be more like, I don't know. I don't know what they were going for, but it was like slinking around corridors, slinking around subway trains, and it was just boring in comparison to something like Killzone Shadowfall. It's like so boring and uneventful compared to something like Killzone 2 or 3, where it's just like there's just always something happening in the story. There's just it's like, you know, really chaotic gameplay or something like that, like set pieces and stuff. And I don't know, it's hard to find games like Halo 3 and Gears of War in the, or you know, even like the Uncharted 2 and 3. I thought Uncharted 4 was a step down. It was way less, the set pieces were way less exciting in comparison. So yeah, I just feel like games, they've lost the epic sense of scale, and they're just not as exciting anymore. And yeah, I don't know. That's about it.